Tonight's story is the beginning of the Armadillos by Rudyard Kipling. Are you in bed? You better be in bed. This, my darling, is another story of the high and far off times. In the very middle of those times, there was a stickly prickly hedgehog, and he lived on the banks of the turbid Amazon, eating shelly snails and things. And he had a friend, a slow solid tortoise, who lived on the banks of the turbid Amazon, eating green lettuces and things. And so that was all right, my darling, don't you think? But also, and at the same time, in those high and far off times, there was a painted jaguar, and he lived on the banks of the turbid Amazon too. And he ate everything that he could catch. When he could not catch deer or monkeys, he would eat frogs and beetles. And when he could not catch frogs and beetles, he went to his mother jaguar, and she told him how to eat hedgehogs and tortoises. She said to him, ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail, "My son, when you find a hedgehog, you must drop him in the water, and then he will uncoil. And when you catch a tortoise, you must scoop him out of his shell with your paw." And so that was all right, my darling. One beautiful night on the banks of the turbid Amazon, Painted Jaguar found Stickly Prickly Hedgehog and Slow Solid Tortoise sitting under the trunk of a fallen tree. They could not run away, and so Stickly Prickly curled himself up into a ball because he was a hedgehog, and Slow Solid Tortoise drew his head and feet into his shell as far as they could go because he was a tortoise. And so that was all right, don't you see? "Now, listen to me," said the Painted Jaguar, "because this is very important. My mother said, when I meet a hedgehog, I am to drop him in the water, and then he will uncoil, and when I meet a tortoise, I am to scoop him out of his shell with my paw. Now, which of you is hedgehog and which of you is tortoise? Because I can't tell." "Are you sure of what your mummy told you?" said Stickly Prickly Hedgehog. "Are you quite sure? Perhaps she said that when you uncoil a tortoise, you must shell him out of the water with a scoop, and when you paw a hedgehog, you must drop him on the shell." "Are you quite sure what your mummy told you?" said Slow as Solid Tortoise. "Are you quite sure? Because she might have said, when you water a hedgehog, you must drop him into your paw, and when you meet a tortoise, you must shell him until he uncoils." I don't think it was all like that," said Painted Jaguar, but he felt a little puzzled. But please say it again, more distinctly." "When you scoop water with your paw, you uncoil it with a hedgehog," said Stickly Prickly. "Remember that, because that's very important." "But," said the tortoise, "when you paw your meat, you drop it into a tortoise with a scoop. Why can't you understand?" "You're making my spot ache," said the Painted Jaguar. "And beside, I don't want your advice at all. I just wanted to know which one of you is hedgehog and which is the tortoise." "I shan't tell you," said Stickly Prickly, "but you can scoop me out of my shell if you want." "Aha," said the Painted Jaguar. "Now I know you're the tortoise. So thought that I wouldn't. Now I will." Painted Jaguar darted out of his paddy paw just as Stickly Prickly curled himself up, and of course Jaguar paddy paw was just filled with prickles. Worse than that, he knocked Stickly Prickly away into the woods and the bushes, where it was too dark to find him. Then he put his paddy paw into his mouth, and of course the prickles hurt him even worse than ever. As soon as he could speak, he said, "Now I know he isn't tortoise at all. But, and then he scratched his head with his unprickly paw. "How do I know the other one is a tortoise?" "But I am a tortoise," said Slow and Solid. "Your mother was quite right. She said you were to scoop me out of my shell with your paw." begin. You didn't say that a minute ago, said Painted Jaguar, sucking the prickles out of his paddy paw. You said she said something quite different. Well, suppose you say that I said that she said something quite different. I don't see that it makes any difference, because if she said what you said I said she said, it's just the same as if I said what she said she said. On the other hand, if you think she said that you were to uncoil me with a scoop instead of pouring me into drops with a shell, I can't help that, can't I? But you said you wanted to be scooped out of your shell with my paws, said the Painted Jaguar. If you think again, you'll find that I didn't say anything of the kind. I said that your mother said that you were to scoop me out of my shell, said Slow and Solid. What will happen if I do? Said the Jaguar, more sniffly and more cautious. I don't know, because I've never been scooped out of my shell before. But I'll tell you truly, if you want to see me swim away, you've only got to drop me in the water. I don't believe you, said the Painted Jaguar. You've mixed up all the things that my mother told me to do with the things that you asked me whether I was sure she didn't say, until I don't know whether I'm on my head or on my painted tail. And now you come and tell me something I can understand, and it makes me more mixy than before. My mother told me that I was to drop one of you two in the water, and as you seem so anxious to be dropped, I think you don't want me to be dropped. So jump in the turbid Amazon and be quick about it. I warned you that your mummy won't be pleased. Don't tell I didn't tell you, said Slow and Solid. If you say one other word about my mother said or did. The Jaguar answered, but he had not finished the sentence before Slow and Solid quietly dived into the turbid Amazon, swam under water for a long way, and came on the bank where Stickly Prickly was waiting for him. That was very narrow escape, said Stickly Prickly. I don't like Painted Jaguar. What did you tell him that you were? I told him truthfully that I was a truthful tortoise, but he wouldn't believe me, and he made me jump into the river to see if I was, and I was, and he is surprised. Now he's going to tell his mummy. Listen to him. They could hear Painted Jaguar roaring up and down amongst the trees and the bushes by the side of the turbid Amazon until his mummy came. Son, son, said his mother ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail. What have you been doing that you shouldn't have done? I tried to scoop something you said wanted to be scooped out of its shell with my paw, and my paw is full of prickles, said Painted Jaguar. Son, son, said his mother ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail. By the prickles in your paddy paw, I see that it must have been a hedgehog. You should have dropped him in the water. I did that to the other thing, and he said he was a tortoise, and I didn't believe him, and it was quite true, and he dived under the turbid Amazon, and he won't come up again. And I haven't anything at all to eat, and I think we'd better find lodging somewhere else. They are too clever for me on the turbid Amazon. Oh, poor me. Son, son, said his mother ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail. Now listen to me and remember what I say. A hedgehog curls himself up into a ball, and his prickles stick out in every which way at once. By this you may know he's a hedgehog. I don't like this old lady one bit, said Stickly Prickly under the shadow of a large leaf. I wonder what else she knows. A tortoise can't curl himself up, Mother Jaguar went on ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail. He only draws his head and legs into his shell. By this you may know he is a tortoise. I don't like this old lady at all, said Slow and Solid Tortoise. Even Painted Jaguar can't forget those directions. It's a great pity that you can't swim, Stickly Prickly. Don't talk to me, said Stickly Prickly. Just think how much better it would be if you can curl up. This is a mess. Listen to Painted Jaguar. Painted Jaguar was sitting on the banks of the turbid Amazon, sucking prickles out of his paw, and saying to himself, "Can't kill, but can swim. Slow solid, that's him. Curl up, but can't swim. Stickly prickly, that's him." "He'll never forget that in a month of Sundays," said Stickly Prickly. "Hold up my chin, Slow and Solid. I'm going to try to learn to swim. It may be useful." "Excellent," said Slow and Solid, and he held up Stickly Prickly's chin, while Stickly Prickly kicked up the water of the turbid Amazon. "You'll make a fine swimmer yet," said the Slow and Solid. "Now, if you can unlace my back plates a little, I'll see what I can do towards curling up. It may be useful." Stickly Prickly helped to unlace the turtle's back plate, so that by twisting and straining, Slow and Solid actually managed to curl up a tiddly-wee bit. "Excellent," said Stickly Prickly, "but I shouldn't do any more just now. It's making you black in the face. Kindly lead me into the water once more, and I will practice that side stroke, which you say is so easy." So Stickly Prickly practiced, and Slow Solid swam alongside. "Excellent," said Slow and Solid. "A little more practice will make you a regular whale. Now, if I may trouble you to unlace my back and front plates 2 holes more, I'll try that fascinating bend that you say is so easy. Won't Painted Jaguar be surprised?" "Excellent," said Stickly Prickly, all wet from the turbid Amazon. "I declare, I shouldn't know you from one of my own family. 2 holes, you think you said? A little more expression, please, and don't grunt so much. This Painted Jaguar may hear us. When you've finished, I want to try that long dive which you say was so easy. Won't Painted Jaguar be surprised?" And so Stickly Prickly dived, and Slow and Solid dived alongside. "Excellent," said Slow and Solid. "A little more attention to holding your breath, and you will be able to keep house at the bottom of the turbid Amazon. Now I'll try that exercise of wrapping my hind legs around my ears, which you say is so peculiarly comfortable. Won't Painted Jaguar be surprised?" "Excellent," said Stickly Prickly. "But it's straining your back plates a little. They're all overlapping now instead of lying side by side." "Oh, that's the result of the exercise," said Slow and Solid. "I've noticed that your prickles seem to be melting into one another, and that you're growing to look rather more like a pine cone and less in a chestnut burr than you used to." "Am I?" said Stickly Prickly. "That comes from soaking in the water. Oh, won't Painted Jaguar be surprised?" They went on with their exercises, each helping the other, till morning came, and when the sun was high, and they rested and dried themselves. Then they saw that they were both of them quite different from what they had been. "Stickly Prickly," said Tertus after breakfast, "I am not sure what I was yesterday, but I think that I may yet amuse Painted Jaguar." "That was the very thing I was thinking just now," said Stickly Prickly. "I think scales a tremendous improvement on prickles, to say nothing of being able to swim. Oh, won't Painted Jaguar be surprised? Let's go and find him." By and by they found Painted Jaguar, still nursing his paddy paw that has been hurt the night before. He was so astonished that he fell 3 times backwards over his unpainted tail without stopping. "Good morning," said Stickly Prickly, "and how is your dear gracious mummy this morning?" "She is quite well, thank you," said the Painted Jaguar, "but you must forgive me if I don't know at this precise moment what is your name." "That's unkind of you," said Stickly Prickly, "seeing that this time yesterday you tried to scoop me out of my shell with your paw." "But you hadn't any shell. It was all prickles," said Painted Jaguar. "I know it was. Just look at my paw." "You told me to drop into the turbid Amazon and be drowned," said So and Solid. "Why are you so rude and so forgetful today?" "Don't you remember what your mother told you?" said Stickly Prickly. "Can't curl, but can swim. Stickly Prickly, that's him. Curls up, but can't swim. So is Solid, that's him." Then they both curled themselves up and rolled around and round Painted Jaguar until his eyes turned truly cartwheeling in his head. Then he went and fetched his mother. "Mother," he said, "there are two new animals in the woods today, and the one you said couldn't swim, swims, and the one that you said couldn't curl up, and the one that you said couldn't curl up, curls up. They've gone and shed their prickles, I think, because both of them are scaly all over, instead of one being smooth and the other very prickly. And beside that, they are rolling around and round in circles, and I don't feel comfy." "Son, son," said the mother ever so many times, gracefully waving her tail. "A hedgehog is a hedgehog, can't be anything but a hedgehog, and a tortoise is a tortoise, and can never be anything else. But it isn't a hedgehog, and it isn't a tortoise, it's a little bit of both, and I don't know its proper name." "Nonsense," said Mother Jaguar. "Everything has its proper name. I should call it Armadillo till I found out the real one, and I should leave it alone." So Painted Jaguar did as he was told, especially about leaving them alone. But the curious thing is that from that day on, no one in the banks of the turbid Amazon has ever called Stickly Prickly and So Solid anything but Armadillo. There are hedgehog and tortoises in other places, of course. There are some in my garden. But the real one and clever kind, with their scales lined lippity-lappity, one over the other, like pine cones, that lives on the bank of the turbid Amazon in the high and far-off days, are always called armadillos because they are so clever. So that's all right, my darling. Can't you see? Good night, love.